Hi, my name is Nicole, and we're going to make some stuffed shells today, one of my kids' favorites. This is my second home cooking video, so bear with me. But anyways, we're going to start off with some fresh ground chuck. We're going to put that right in the pan, and we're going to get some vegetables going. I'd like to chop up some onions, some celery, and some mushrooms. I'm going to start off with my onion. I like to use fresh vegetables and chop them up really good. Always adds much better flavor. And of course, I always put veggies in my sauces. It's a good way to get your vegetables into your kids. Just adds so much flavor too when you add your own vegetables. Like I said, I chop things up really good. We put it right in here with our ground chuck. I like to use a lot, so I had some extra already cut up and put that right in the pan too. All right, now we're going to work on some celery. I like celery, and we're going to just cut this the long way first, get it all chopped up. But I start off with my meat sauce, and I use my fresh veggies. And then I also add some other pasta sauces. And the good thing about home cooking is you can use any pasta sauce you want. I use a variety of it, different flavors, just because it gives it a little bit more flavor. And I like to, I use whatever I got in the cupboard. So I have some plain sauce and I have some flavored sauce. But I add all my own veggies and spices to my hamburger mixture. And I usually make quite a bit. We got some extra veggies cut up right there. Now we're going to cut up, my kids love mushrooms in their pasta sauces. So I like to cut them up small. They just add so much flavor. It takes a little extra time to do your own fresh vegetables, but it's so much worth it. It adds so much nutritional value also that you don't get when you put in just frozen or canned. You add a fresh touch of vegetables, and people just go, wow, that tastes so good. What did you do? Just fresh is always best. I'm gonna make a couple dishes of stuffed shells, so we need quite a bit of sauce. And I use fresh garlic. I use a whole clove, but its nice thing is my prep cook cuts up nice things for me. But anyways, I'm gonna get this stuff on to cook right here really quick, just so it starts cooking. About the same time as I put my meat sauce on to cook, I'll get some water in my pan, and I'll start boiling my water for my jumbo shells. And that way you can cook your jumbo shells on the side while your meat sauce is cooking. Usually doesn't take very long. You just have to multitask a little bit, get things done. But anyways, fresh. And you can use, if you don't have the time to mince up garlic, they have minced garlic in a jar. It's not as strong as raw, fresh garlic, but it'll work. Has good flavor to it. And then, all right, I'm going to move over to the stove and get this stuff on to start cooking. All right, now we're back over to the stove. I'm just going to turn this burner on to a medium just to get it up and cooking. All right, so now we got this on a medium heat. We're going to try to get it cooking, and I'm just going to watch it. And I'm going to chop up my ground chuck a little bit, and kind of get my vegetables mixed in, just so we can start cooking the sauce. Okay, so I got my ground chuck, and I got my onions, my garlic, and my celery. And you can put anything you want in there. Some people don't like mushrooms, they don't put them in. You don't like green peppers, I don't use them. But I also add my own spices, just because I like a lot of good spicy food. I got some celery, some seasoning salt here. We add some of that. And some celery salt. I try not to add too many different salts, but I got a lot of ground chuck here, probably 2.5 pounds, so I'm going to season it up pretty good. This is my garlic. I'm also going to turn my water on for my pasta. I have to cook my jumbo shells and get the water cooking there. And then, while these two things cook, we're going to go back over and make our ricotta filling for our stuffed shells. So once you season that up really good, and just kind of turn it over again, turn it over and mix those spices in a little bit. I got a lot in the pan today. It's a full one. But I'm going to end up making stuffed shells, probably 2 or 3 casserole dishes. Everybody will like them, and they're really good for leftovers the next couple days also. They kind of just sit together and they taste really good. Alright, so now we're going to go back over to the chopping block and work on our ricotta filling. Alright, so now we're back to the chopping block. I've got my ground beef and my vegetables cooking in the frying pan, and I've got my water boiling for my jumbo shells. And now I'm going to work on my ricotta filling for my stuffed shells. First, we're going to, you can use whatever you want. I've got some ricotta cheese, and I've got some cottage cheese. And like I said, I'm making a bunch, so we're going to, whoops. All right, so we're going to start off making a lot of noise. All right, so we're going to start off with our ricotta cheese. And then we're going to put in our cottage cheese. We got some whole cottage cheese, and it doesn't matter what you use. You can use the cheap stuff. It doesn't matter, no name brand. So you got your cottage cheese and your ricotta, and I'm stuffing probably 2 or 3 casserole dishes. So we're going to use quite a bit of that. And then I like to use, I've got some Parmesan cheese and about a half a container. I'm making quite a bit, so I'll just squeeze those up a little bit. And then we're going to have to mix this up really good, but just to squish it down into the bowl and get started. I got my eggs. You got to put a couple of eggs in there. It helps to keep your cheese and your cheeses together once you cook them. And okay, so my ricotta filling is got my ricotta cheese, my cottage cheese, some Parmesan cheese, and I put some garlic granulates in it too, just to give it a little bit more flavor. And I usually use chives for a little bit of green, but I'm going to use cilantro today. And it adds a slight different flavor, but it'll do the trick. And you can use chives, you can use fresh ones, you can use minced, but it's just to add a little bit of flavor to your and color to your fillings. All right, so now we're just going to mix this up a little bit. We're just going to mix this in. You got to kind of make sure your eggs in, fluff it up a little bit. Whoop! Spilled it again. Yeah, we'll just push that right back in the bowl. Sounds good. All right. Oh, it smells so good. But I also put some shredded cheese in with my ricotta and my cottage cheese, just to give it a little bit more cheesy filling. And, all right, while my assistant mixes that, I'm going to get some cheese. And this is just a 6 cheese Italian cheese. And I'm just going to put, like, not a lot, just to give some more flavor, more texture. All right, we're going to save the rest of that shredded cheese for on top of the shells. And when I do my shells, I make a meat sauce, which is cooking still behind me, smelling really yummy. And we put that on the bottom. After we put the sauce down, we're going to put the shells down, and then we put the shredded cheese on top. So I'm going to save the rest of that shredded cheese for just a few minutes. Now my ricotta cheese mixture is all mixed and ready. I'm going to let it set. I have it set aside. And we're going to go back to the stove and work on our meat sauce. All right, so now we're back over to the stove, and our ground chuck is cooking really nice. Now I have a lot of ground chuck. I got 2.5 pounds here, so it takes a little bit longer. Usually it doesn't take very long if you're making just one single dish. But I have a lot of ground chuck here, and it's cooking up really good. And we're going to give that a stir. And make sure that's just stirred and chopped up really good, so it'll be a nice meat sauce for the bottom base of our stuffed shells. All right, we're going to continue letting that cook. I turned it up, get it going really good and hot, and we're going to let that finish cooking. And I'm going to go over here. I've got my water cooking, boiling over here very nicely. Watch out for that hot steam. And I'm going to use, I got some jumbo shells. I'm going to use those. I'll pour those right in there. I'm making more, so I got to use 2 boxes. All right. So now I'm going to just kind of give those a toss and make sure they're under the water. And let those cook for like, I don't know, 10 minutes, I think. All right. And cover those. No, we're not going to cover those up. All right, now our ground chuck looks really good, and I'm going to add my pasta sauces. Now the good thing about home cooking is you can put anything in there that you want. Now I use Hunt's tomato spaghetti sauce, pasta sauce, and this one is a mushroom flavored one. I like to use more than one flavor just because it gives it a better taste. Variety of flavors in there going on. And I'm gonna make up, I'm gonna use a couple of these just because I got a lot of meat going on. I'm gonna make probably 4 casserole dishes. And this one is a garlic herb. Doesn't matter what you use. You can use a gluten-free sauce if you want. You can use a cheese-based sauce. I just use Hunt's, and then I'm going to thin it out a little bit with just some regular plain old spaghetti sauce, no name brand. Oh, my pan's getting really full now. All right, so we're just going to mix that in a little bit. We're going to mix that in. Let's turn it over. All right. I think maybe we need to pause it. All right, now our ground chuck has been cooking for quite a while now. It's cooked down and condensed a little bit, and all the vegetables are nice and soft. Everything will just kind of melt together with really good flavor. I got my pasta over here boiling in the back pan. And that's been boiling for a while because I've got 2 packages in there. And that's just about done. We're going to preheat the oven now too, because once we put this all together in layers, we're gonna bake it for a while. So we're gonna preheat the oven on 350 and let that preheat while we drain our shells. My lovely assistant's gonna drain those for me. And then we're gonna move back over to the cutting board with our sauce. We're gonna shut that off and just let it cool off. You can make your sauce ahead of time if you want. I like to cook mine a little bit just so all the flavors kind of melt together. All right, so now we're going to go back over to the cutting board. All right, so now we're back to the cutting board, and I've got my shells over here cooling off, and I'm going to put a little bit of oil on them just so they don't stick together because it's going to be kind of hard to pull them apart. So I'm just gonna drizzle some oil on them, and my assistant here is gonna. Oh, that's not quite enough. I got quite a few. I got 2 boxes of elbow jumbo noodles there. All right, so we're going to drizzle a little bit more oil on these just so they don't stick together. And you can use anything you want. You can use coconut oil. You can use vegetable oil. You can use butter if you want. Butter makes them taste really good too. All right, but we're gonna put that aside. We don't need that anymore. All right, so now I've got my meat sauce over here that's all done, and I got my pasta. And I'm going to start by making a vegetarian stuffed shells. I have one daughter that does not like her meat, so I'm just going to make one dish. I make a small dish for her, just a small one, and I put just plain old sauce in it. And just sauce, just to keep it moist when I bake it in the oven, and I'll end up using the rest of that in my other dish. But we're going to start off. These pastas are really hot, so you have to kind of wait till they cool off till you can handle them easily. And I'm going to stuff them and just layer them in here. All right, so now, if bear with us, I'm going to stuff some shells. All right. The shells were super hot. We had to spread them out on the meat board over here and let them cool off a little bit. But now that we got the shells cooled off, we're going to just start by filling them up. I guess I need a smaller spoon here. But anyways, just take a good scoop of filling and put it right in your shell. And just, I like to fill mine right up. And we're going to use a meatless sauce right here. And we're just going to fill these up. You can use, if you like a lot of the ricotta filling in them, you can use a lot. If not, you can fill them halfway. My kids like to have them filled up really good. So my assistant's going to help me fill some of these up today, just to move things along a little bit faster. All right, let's fill some more of these things. Sometimes they're hard, they don't cooperate, but most of the time you can get them to perch right open like this and just fill them. Sometimes I like to get my kids involved and have them help out. They like to fill them too sometimes. Sometimes I just like to eat them. All right, so there's one dish right there, and that one's an all vegetable, just a jar of your own favorite sauce and your stuffed shells. And all right, so now we got the shells in the sauce, and now we're just going to add some shredded cheese. I use a different variety of cheese, and I just kind of put it on top, so when you bake it, it kind of just melts together, and it's really good. I also am using a little bit of this one. It's a Mexican style blend, and it's got 4 different kinds of cheeses in it. I like different cheeses. It just adds flavor. And we'll just put a little bit on there. Whoops, maybe too much there. All right, and that's a vegetable stuffed shells dish. All right, so then we're going to take some of our meat sauce that we made earlier, and we're going to scoop it into the bottom of this dish. And I put it under my shell, so it doesn't matter if it's chunky or not. There's my meat sauce. All right. All right, so now I got my meat sauce, and I'm going to stuff some more shells. I'm just going to stuff a few more and get them in the meat sauce. And I like to fill them up pretty much full. They bake shut, and then they're really nice and moist and juicy in there. And they just taste so good. My kids love stuffed shells. Either that or lasagna, which we'll be making pretty soon. But anyways, my lovely assistant put some nice shells together for me. She helps out quite a bit. We usually like to cook together quite a bit, make our stuff, and then we each take home a nice big dish of food for supper for our families. So we decided we were going to start video camming what we were cooking and putting it on for other people to see, and they can do the same thing. And the best thing about home cooking is that you can make anything you want, put anything in there, and everybody has a different flavor. You can make it hot and spicy if you want. But I'm going to top my shells off with a variety of shredded cheeses. I've got some Parmesan cheese. I've got some Mexican cheese. I like to use 4 or 5 different blends of cheese. And whoop, spilled it again. All right, then I'm going to stick that right in the oven, and we'll see you when it comes out. It looks and smells really good. Okay, so we made all of this in no time at all, and you can do a lot of different things, and you can make yourself a really good couple of meals for a few days for a little bit of effort and a little bit of energy, and it is so yummy. And then you just go ahead and serve them up. It's nice so you can serve up, well, let me see right here. It's nice because you can serve up 1 or 2 shells at a time. Just like that. And then you got, oh, it's so good. Let it cool down because the cheese is so hot in there. It'll melt your mouth. Tune in next time. Next week, we're going to make some twice baked potatoes and meatloaf. So, we'll see you next time. We'll see you next time, next week on Monday, to make a new batch of yummy homemade cooking.